welcome to Drinking and Reading with Brittany. I found a way to combine two of my favorite things into an entertaining segment for you guys. So what I figure I will do for now is I will pick something to drink. I'll tell you about it, whether it's good, if it's something I like. Maybe you can find it in your store or your local liquor store or wherever you find all of your alcohol and see if you like it. And then I'm going to read a chapter from a book that I'm writing. So if you're somebody who likes to hear stories rather than read them with your own eyeballs, then this is perfect for you. And also if you like to drink. So today I have this. It's Lefty. It's called Flight of Fancy Red Blend. So this is actually red wine blended with raspberry juice. I found this at Ingles months ago, but I found the peach one. And so it's a rosé blended with peach, and it was like so delicious. And then I couldn't find it for months. I was like looking everywhere, looked at every store I would go to when I was out of town, and all this stuff. And then I couldn't find it. And the other day I was like strolling through Ingles just randomly, and on this barrel on sale for $8.88 a bottle. There was the peach one, which I already drank, it's gone. There was a white wine blend with pineapple juice. It wasn't that good, but here we are. So we're gonna see how this red blend by Lefty, red blend with raspberry juice, tastes. Let's see. Well, it's nothing fancy. I have drank much fancier wine. It smells kind of... smells dry, if that's a thing. Whew. It's tart. It's very tart. Okay, verdict is very berry-like. You can definitely taste the raspberry. It's tart. It's not super sweet, which I like. So it's nice dry blend, blended with a little bit of sweetness and berry flavor from the raspberry. So if you're into drier wines, but fruity, you will like it. I'm on board. So next on our list, while I drink this wine, I'm going to read you the first chapter of a book that I'm writing. So if you like it, you have any suggestions, if you connect with these characters that I created, feel free to comment, send me a message, let me know. If you have any criticisms, I would love to hear those, but mainly this is just for you if you like listening to stories. So if you're like one of those people who listens to audiobooks, I'm going to read every chapter of this book as I finish it. And hopefully you guys like it. So let's get started. Prologue, which means the chapter before chapter 1. All right. Sarah sat in a busy restaurant. The tables were covered with red and white checkered tablecloths that reminded her of a pizza joint her family frequented when she was a child. All she could think about was the rumor she once heard that a customer found a roach as an unwelcome topping on their pizza there once, and how she never ate there again. She had never heard such rumors about this place, but the familiar pattern on the tablecloths made her nauseous anyway. Side note, that is a true story about a pizza place that is from my hometown. So if anybody grew up in Bloomingdale, Georgia, and you heard this rumor, I'm not going to say the pizza place's name, but if you know, you know. So I did not pull that out of nowhere. Well, that and the nerves. So she's nauseous because of the roach pizza and her nerves. She has never been on a blind date before. Her water vibrated back and forth in her glass, and she realized that her knee was bouncing wildly under the table. A nervous habit she had had since she was a child. She did it so often that she didn't even notice it anymore. She willed her leg to stop moving and flagged down the waiter. "Can I start with a glass of red wine, please?" she asked. "Hello." "Certainly, ma'am. We have a Merlot, a cab," she interrupted. "Whichever is the driest. Surprise me." She forced a smile, feeling guilty for cutting him off, but desperately needing that wine and too nervous to make any decisions. He gave her a strange look. "Right away, ma'am." She watched him saunter off, suddenly wishing she had ordered whiskey instead. "This will be fine," she thought to herself. "It's just a date with a man you have never met. No big deal." She tried to breathe. Her phone lit up with a text from a number she had not yet saved. "Running a tad late. Be there ASAP." She sighed. Of course he's late. Her friend Josie had said he was super nice, but that he was a little all over the place. The waiter returned with her wine. She thanked him and then took a long sip. The liquid was like cotton in her mouth and struggled down her throat. She liked her wine dry, but damn, this one had sucked all the hydration from her tongue. She took another sip, letting the wine warm her insides. After the third sip, she grabbed her phone and texted him back. "No problem," she typed, hoping that he could tell she was annoyed, but not mad. The wine in the glass had dwindled, and her head was feeling warm, and she felt more at ease. She was picking up the glass of wine to down the last ounce of burgundy liquid left in the bottom when a man approached her table. He was wearing a navy blue button-up, haphazardly tucked into a pair of khaki pants that had never met an iron. He had some dark stubble growing that looked like it could sprout into a full-grown beard at any time. His blue eyes were smiling as he walked toward her. In his hands was a bouquet of sunflowers. Her favorite. Nosy Josie. She was sure she was behind this gesture. "Sarah?" the man asked as he moved closer. His brown hair was shaggy and disheveled. She set the glass down and stood up. "Hi, you must be Shane." She leaned in for an awkward hug, nearly crushing the flowers before he had time to sweep them out from between them and put his arm around her back. "Please sit," he gestures for her chair. "I am so sorry I'm late. I got held up at work, and then halfway here I remembered that Josie told me that you like sunflowers, and I didn't want to show up empty-handed, and sunflowers are surprisingly hard to find, and..." She cut him off, smiling. "It's okay. It gave me time to calm my nerves a bit." She picked up the glass of wine and awkwardly gestured it toward him in a pseudo cheers, and down the rest. "Shall we get a bottle?" she asked, hoping he wouldn't think she was a lush. She did enjoy more than the occasional beverage, but this was a deep-seated nervousness that was the product of a 25-year-old woman who hadn't been on a successful date in years, and liquid courage was what she needed. The corners of her mouth upturned into a cross between a smirk and a smile as he said, "Absolutely. I have to catch up with you somehow. A dry red, okay?" "Sounds perfect." Sarah mentally ticked off that they lacked the same kind of wine, which was an okay start. The bottle of wine arrived when they ordered their food. He got the eggplant parmesan, and she made a mental note to ask him if he was a vegetarian. Not that there would be anything wrong with that. She had always considered it, but never took the plunge. She ordered the chicken fettuccine alfredo because she was too nervous to focus on the menu, and that was the first thing that she saw. Shane poured them each a glass. "Cheers to nosy friends and the awkwardness of a blind date," he said. She laughed as she clinked her glass against his. Oh, good. I'm so glad I'm not the only one that thinks these things are awkward." "Not at all. This is my first one," Shane said. "Me too," Sarah said, a little too excitedly. Shane laughed. "To virgins," he raised his glass and took a long sip of wine. "Don't mind if I do." I really like this one. You gotta get it. "So Josie tells me that you run a theater program." "Yeah, I'm in charge of the full season of plays over at the Pegasus Playhouse. We do 4 plays and a musical every year. It can get pretty hectic." She took another sip of wine, realized she had already drank most of the glass and put it down. Her nerves were calming, and she didn't want to get shitty before dinner arrived. "That's very cool," Shane said. "I did some acting in high school, if you can call barely memorizing lines in 2 school plays acting." She laughed. "Everyone has to start somewhere. What is it that you do?" "I'm in IT, super boring stuff, but I like it and it pays the bills." She looked him in the eyes. "Hey, not everyone can say that they like what they do. Be proud." He stared straight back into her eyes, and she felt the first flutter of something in her stomach. Was this the start of what a good date feels like? The start of an attraction? Or was she just hungry? As if on cue, the waiter arrived with the food, breaking their eye contact. They ordered another bottle of wine, and a blanket of relaxation covered them as they continued to chat for hours. When Sarah finally noticed the server starting to flip chairs and sweep, she looked at the time on her phone and was shocked to see that it was 10 p.m. The restaurant had been closed for 30 minutes, and the date had lasted 4 hours. She couldn't believe it. Shane must have noticed the same thing because he said, "Wow, we better get going. These guys are ready to go home." He paid the tab and offered to walk her to her car. As they stood outside of her dirty Honda Civic, she tried to block the windows, hoping that he couldn't see the crazy mess inside. She was never a neat freak, but her apartment was at least tidy, but her car was a different story altogether. Fast food trash, bags of thrift store finds she thought would make great costumes that she never lugged to the theater, too many venti iced coffee cups from Starbucks, endless notebooks full of rehearsal notes, and God only knows what else. Shane's voice snapped her out of her own head. "I had a really great time. Maybe I should have gone on a blind date a long time ago. I had a really great time too. We should do this again, she said, hoping she wasn't being too forward. Shane stepped a little closer. Definitely, he said as he leaned in and kissed her on her cheek. Have a good night, Sarah. Sarah got in her car and the smile on her face was like a tattoo. Permanent. She pulled her phone from her purse and saved Shane's number into her contacts. And that's chapter 1. What? I have 6 chapters so far, so if you want to know what happens with Sarah and Shane, chapter 1, after the prologue, is kind of where you really figure out what the book's about, and it's a little depressing, a little exciting, and yeah, I'm going to be drinking something else. So if you want some advice on what to drink, or suggestions, or criticisms, because I might accidentally drink something disgusting, we'll see, and you want to know what happens to Shane and Sarah, then stay tuned and like and subscribe Recreational Paperwork, because I'll be releasing these videos hopefully weekly, starting now. And also be sure to check out our other videos. We got a short film and some Mr. and Mrs. sketches. We got a lot of cool stuff coming up soon, so just stay tuned, and thank you for all of your support. Good night.